of the beauties of theatre is being able to bring a story to life with all the passion, drama and raw emotion being acted out in front of you live on stage and not just on the pages of a book. In her critically acclaimed adaptation of Coram Boy, Helen Edmondson does just that. And it's also an A-level text for drama and theatre studies. So I'm on my way to catch up with her now to find out more about it and the other work she's got going on. So Helen, welcome to Stage Talk. Now you've successfully adapted a number of classic novels for the renowned theatre company Shared Experience, including Mill on the Floss, Anna Karenina and War and Peace, to name but a few. What would you say draws you to the process of adapting for the stage?
Well, it wasn't something I chose to do particularly. It wasn't. I fell into it really. I'd started writing and there was quite a strong expressionistic feeling to the work that I was doing, and Nancy Meckler, who's one of the artistic directors of Shared Experience, was looking for somebody to adapt Anna Karenina, and she came along to see my work, and she was looking hopefully for a woman, somebody quite young, someone quite new, and someone who had that sort of bold approach which would possibly break down the fourth wall and create something very theatrical, because that's what Shared Experience do. We went to Russia, we did research, we talked to experts, we saw Russian theatre, we kind of did the whole Tolstoy trail, you know, visiting his various homes, and really immersed ourselves in the whole of that Russian world. And then she said to me, try to think of it as an opera or a ballet, you know, don't get too bogged down in the actual details of the story, but try to take a theatrical sweeping approach. So that's what I did. And I wrote very, very fast, and we started rehearsals with only half a script, and I was still writing as they were rehearsing. I just had to keep thinking, a lot of people who come and see this will never have read Anna Karenina. They're going to come in and what they want is a terrific night in the theatre. They don't necessarily want to know whether I've fully understood the significance of one particular you know, event or one particular character. It forces you to be theatrical, to take shortcuts, to find physical language for things which could take you know, an eternity to explain, or on the page, you know, it's chapters and chapters, but sometimes you just have to, in the theatre, you have to find different ways of expressing things.
Now, your version of Jamila Gavin's Coram Boy was a big success at the National Theatre a few years back, and with amateur companies, and with schools too, because it's an A-level set text for drama. What would you say is the secret behind its success?
Well, it's a fantastic story. You know, Jamila wrote a wonderful, wonderful children's story, and I think the fact that she didn't shy away from the harsher realities of life actually really attracts young people to the story. You know, it's really aimed at kind of young teenagers, because a lot of the characters in the play are just hitting puberty and just kind of finding their feet in the world, and they have all those desires and all those things that they really want to achieve, which are kind of bubbling away inside them. It was a time when poverty was true, you know, true poverty. I mean, there was no welfare state and there was nothing to support people. So if you fell through the gaps in the system, you really were, you know, lost. We did an enormous amount of work on the music and just bringing the whole thing together, so that the musical side of it and the staging side of it and the storytelling and the acting just totally came together and created this, you know, experience that people loved. The other thing which it offers to community groups or amateur groups is that because of the choir and the involvement of hopefully a huge choir, as many as you like, it does mean that lots and lots of people can get involved, and you know, the choir can not just do the singing, but they can also be involved in the scenes where we need crowds or a sense of, you know, people milling around or whatever it is. So there's a, you know, to be able to combine the music, you know, people who want to come along and sing, and the acting, I think it does offer something, you know, quite special to those kind of groups. you know, I love the thought that there are people out there, you know, still keeping it alive and working on it and getting something from it.
Your adaptation of Swallows and Amazons is going to be available for Amdram companies to perform soon. So tell us more about it, and in particular, if you have any handy tips for staging it, because it's set outside on a lake in boats, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's a challenge.
It is a challenge. And when you know, when we were first thinking about working on it, I was, you know, in discussions with the director and the composer. We did kind of think, is this a bit mad to try and make this work? But it comes down to the same thing again, I think, which is just acknowledging that you're in a theatrical space. We use the whole idea of the fact that it's about children playing. So all the stuff that they need to make the boats and to kind of create the sense of an island and the adventures that they go on is all sort of lying around them. So they just kind of play and they create it as children would. I think, as with all my adaptations, you can't really do them with big sets. You can't have sets, you can't have naturalistic or realistic worlds, because they move so quickly from one scene to another anyway. And it's the same with, you know, it's the same with all of them. So it does put the emphasis very much on the actor, which I think is great. You know, it means that the actor has a sort of quite a close relationship with the audience, because the audience can see how they're working and how they're creating pictures for them, which sometimes, you know, we just rely on sets to do.
So it's particularly good for amateur companies, isn't it? Because big sets mean big budgets, but with amateur work you have to kind of make the most of what you've got.
You can do it in a small room with hardly any lighting and just a few old boxes. I mean, literally, you could create it like that. So I think it's very freeing, in fact.
And finally, what are you working on next?
I've written a play which the RSC are doing in February, so we're just sort of finishing casting that and then getting ready for rehearsals. And that will be at the Swan, and it's called The Heresy of Love.
Helen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.